With each new day, the offseason is one step closer. The championship series are both set, and the Rangers and Astros kick off tomorrow, Sunday, when you guys are watching this on Saturday. And for us Mariners fans, there really isn't a whole lot to look forward to for the rest of the year until the offseason, basically. So free agency, trades, what have you. And for the Mariners, we know there's a lot of holes in this team going into 2024, and there's things that we need to address. And the big strikeout problem for the 2023 Seattle Mariners is definitely at the top of the list for the front office, I would imagine. I would hope so, at least. And there's a player out there in the world that can definitely improve the Mariners in terms of not striking out a ton, making good contact. And this guy also happens to be a former MVP. If I told you guys that the Mariners had a chance to acquire a former MVP this offseason, I'm sure everyone would be losing their minds. And I'm sure a lot of you are already thinking the names, right? Cody Bellinger's on free agent this year. Shohei Ohtani, the big fish of the offseason. But that's not really who I'm talking about. And I'm going to convince you by the end of this video that Jung-Hoo Lee, KBO MVP in 2022, will be a significant player in the MLB in 2024. Now, I hope it's for the Mariners, but there's no guarantee there that it's going to be, because Jung-Hoo Lee, he's a center fielder. He's been patrolling the Kawum Heroes center field for quite some time, and he's got 5 gold gloves in center field to show for it. Obviously, Julio's going to be patrolling center field, so Jung-Hoo Lee would be relegated to a corner. Whether or not that's a problem with him and his agent, I hope not, because I think he would be a great fit in Seattle. He doesn't strike out a ton, and he makes good contact. Now, there's a bit of a caveat here with Jung-Hoo Lee. The people that are skeptical around him, I can understand the question marks. But, like I mentioned, I'm hoping I can convince you by the end of this that he will be a legit player. And if I do, make sure you subscribe. And even if I don't, subscribe right now. If you guys are watching and you aren't, be greatly appreciated. So, couple things. He fractured his ankle in 2023, so he did not play a full year, but he will be ready in 2024. And also, the KBO, it's a step below Major League competition. The MLB, obviously, is the best league for baseball in the entire world. Right behind it is the NPB, the main Japanese baseball league. Below that, a lot of people would say then is AAA. And in between AA and AAA is the KBO, where Jung-Hoo Lee has played. And there have been plenty of Korean-born players to come to the States and play in the MLB and have a ton of success. Jung-Hoo Lee, even in the WBC, posted great numbers in the 4 games that Korea did get to play. He posted like a 429 batting average, so he got 6 hits and 14 at-bats. I think that's how that math works. And he posted a 1,000 plus OPS. It's a small sample size, sure, but in the biggest stage that he's ever played on, he succeeded. And in the KBO, he was no slouch by any means. He was an MVP, for crying out loud. That is not an easy feat in any league around the world. And in that MVP year, in 2022, played in 142 games, had 553 at-bats with 193 hits. 69 of them, nice, went for extra bases, including 23 home runs. I don't think that pop is there fully. That's not going to be something that's going to be consistent. I would project him in the MLB to maybe hit 12 or 15. It's not going to be a ton of pop. But like I mentioned, we're not really after a big bopper with Jung-Hoo Lee. We're looking for a guy that's going to play solid defense and also be able to put some good contact on the ball and not strike out a ton. And this is where the next stat comes into play. 66 walks to 32 strikeouts in those 142 games. Stellar numbers there. His slash line was a 349 batting average with a 421 on base percentage, a 575 slugging with an 996 OPS with a 175 WRC plus. Dude was mashing the ball in 2022. And on the end of that, a 994 fielding percentage with 313 chances in center field. That's a really good ball player. That's an exceptional ball player, and I have no doubt in my mind that it can translate to the MLB season in 2024. His 2023 season was cut short, like I mentioned, by a fractured ankle, but it was still good. 85 games, he had 105 hits, 31 extra base hits there. Strikeouts to walks is roughly the same. His batting average was 319. His on base was 407. His slugging was 456. So you see a pretty significant drop off there in the power. And like I mentioned, we're not expecting a ton of pop from Jung-Hoo Lee. It was still good for a 139 WRC plus. So again, a very good hitter. Another guy that was a really great hitter in the KBO was Ha-Seong Kim, player for the Padres. And in his first year in the MLB, it took some time for him to adjust, and it did not really go super well for him in that first year. A 622 OPS with a 73 OPS plus in his rookie year, it's not something to write home about. But Ha-Seong Kim would turn his career around, and in 2022 would post a 708 OPS with a 105 OPS plus, jumping up those numbers dramatically, and he would continue to improve in 2023 with a 749 OPS and a 110 OPS plus. I have no doubt in my mind that Jung-Hoo Lee could come over to the MLB and post better numbers than Ha-Seong Kim did in his first year, mainly because of this next stat I'm about to tell you. In their final 2 years in the KBO, Ha-Seong Kim struck out double the amounts of times that Jung-Hoo Lee did. He was striking out at double the rate. In their age 23 and 24 seasons respectively, Kim struck out 12.8% and 10.9% of the time. Jung-Hoo Lee only struck out 5.1% and 6.0%. Jung-Hoo Lee is just making more contact with the ball. He is not striking out nearly as much. And Ha-Seong Kim saw his strikeout rate increase by 13% in his first year coming over to the MLB. So it went from, like I mentioned, 10.9% to almost 24% essentially, which is higher than league average by a little margin. League average is 22.4% roughly. So if we take those strict numbers, that strict 13% from Ha-Seong Kim's first year in the MLB and place it on the Jung-Hoo Lee's strikeout percentage from his last year in the KBO, that's 19%. That is still 3% lower than league average. And if it continues to decrease, he gets better at it as he adjusts to MLB pitching, just like Ha-Seong Kim has, he's going to be striking out at like 14-15% of the time, which is a very good strikeout rate to have in the MLB, especially for an international talent that likely would still continue to adjust as he grew into himself as an MLB player. Jung-Hoo Lee, it's going to be a corner outfielder. It's not going to be center field. So if that's an issue with him, that could be a hiccup for the Seattle Mariners. But a guy that's striking out less than 20% of the time in a corner outfield, giving you great defense and able to continue to push the line, make good contact, put the ball in play, it's exactly what the Seattle Mariners need in 2024. And if they need to bolster it with a backup plan, with a right-handed hitting platoon, maybe a guy like Adam Duvall, or go trade for Brent Rooker or something, to maybe, just in case Jung-Hoo Lee doesn't figure it out immediately, you have a backup plan, get a veteran to kind of mitigate those issues, right? And those aren't the sexy picks by any means, but Jung-Hoo Lee is a guy that I could see panning out very well for the Mariners should they be able to sign him. The issue there is, should they be able to sign him? I think there are two other suitors that will be fighting hard for Jung-Hoo Lee, and I've already mentioned one of these teams, a player that plays for them, Ha-Seong Kim. The Padres could very well just say, hey, come join your former teammate in San Diego. We'll make room for you in the outfield. Come join a familiar face. They've also got Chano Park as part of their administration, so that is also another foot in the door for the Padres in regards to Jung-Hoo Lee. So the Padres are a team to watch out for there. Another team said to be aggressive this offseason, the San Francisco Giants, could throw a wrench into this plan. They don't really have a true center fielder. They've got a former top 3 prospect, Luis Matos, in their system as well, but he's very, very young. So if they were to, say, try and sign Jung-Hoo Lee and bring him in to pair with Matos out there, might not be a bad idea to let them both develop at the same time and eventually move one to a corner. But Jung-Hoo Lee has proven that he can be a quality defensive center fielder. So if he wants to stick that out, the Mariners might be a little SOL in terms of this. And the money for Jung-Hoo Lee will likely set the record for the largest contract given out to a Korean player. The 4 years, $28 million that Ha-Seong Kim got from the Padres, that's not going to cut it for Jung-Hoo Lee. I would probably be around $60 million if I'm the Mariners, maybe 4 years, $60 million, but you probably have to go a little bit higher, like 4 years, 70 or 4 years, 72, to be able to lock him in as, hey, we want you, this is the money we want to pay to you. Because other teams, they might be around that same ballpark figure, but it's a guy that you need in Seattle in 2024. He will be able to continue to set the table for guys like Julio, Cal, if Gino bounces back a little bit and drives the ball a little bit more. Jung-Hoo Lee will be on base for them. He is going to be another guy at the top of your order like JP Crawford that will make solid contact and not strike out a ton in those big moments. Now, Jung-Hoo Lee, he is a big question mark heading into 2024. Whether or not he will be able to replicate his KBO success, it's definitely a question that people should be asking. But there are other questions that the Mariners still have to ask themselves, and we as fans should be asking going into this offseason. And Colton made a video about 5 big questions that the Mariners should be discussing, and that's on the screen right now. If you guys have not seen that one, make sure you guys go check out that one. I hope you guys enjoyed this one and are convinced that Jung-Hoo Lee will be a productive ball player in 2024. Again, thank you guys for watching, and go Mariners.